everyone, welcome back. We're going to be checking out episodes 9 and 10 of the Apothecary Diaries. These episodes have done a really good job at just having a beginning, middle, and end, so there's not too much that really lingers over. So that doesn't really give me a whole lot to talk about here in the beginning, so I guess we're just going to go ahead and jump on in. Guys, feel free to check out my YouTube memberships. They're only $1, and you get early access to episodes like these, and also the full reactions as well. You put some extra sugar cubes in there. Oh yeah, he still feels bad about Maomao. Yeah, he probably felt like he kind of had her figured out and having fun with his games, and then she just walked right off with somebody else. It's probably who got poisoned.
冷たいようだが、顔も名前も知らぬ人間に同情できるほど感傷深くない。
I can feel that way too sometimes. You just feel too detached to the situation.
宴席で飲まれていた酒の残りだ。
おお、酒。
Well, that wouldn't have the poison in it because his drink got spiked, so.
大の甘党でいくら上等の燻製肉や岩塩を用意しても手をつけない人だった。昔は辛いもの好きだったが、ある日突然。
I could see these details playing into something later.
宴の魚に塩は出ましたか？
ああ、岩塩と月餅と干し肉が出たそうだ。
They look like sugar cubes that someone put them in there. Maybe they were rock salts or something?
それと一つ調べてもらいたいことがあります。
Since we've been dealing with allergies a lot, maybe it's not necessarily poison that was used. Maybe it was something that he was allergic to.
舐めて平気なのか？
これに毒はありませ
She
ん。
look anything.
それを読む限り、おそらく光年様は塩味だけがわからなくなっていたかと。
Oh, what a convenient thing. I mean, it's inconvenient for him, but convenient for the person trying to kill him.
味覚がなくなる病があります。原因は食の偏りやストレス。
COVID. I'm just kidding.
あるいは真面目な人間を毛嫌いする者は多いです。酒の席のちょっとした。
Yeah, there's definitely a whole other motive that we have not been shown here.
普通の青年のようだ。この人も一応人間なんだな。
I think she would like this aspect of him, a version of him that's a lot more serious, more real, perhaps.
酒は20歳になるまで禁止せよと。
それ絶対に通さないでください。
I must have alcohol. That scene really felt like they were starting to get more accustomed to the push and pull between their personalities whenever they're joking with each other. Maybe that was a flashback? Oh, maybe not.
検視すべき医者がこれとは全くもってやぶである。
I was about to say, I was like, isn't he the doctor? Shouldn't he be used to seeing bodies?
好奇心旺盛なお前のことだ。一度でも手を出したら墓荒らしくらいするだろう。
Love her face.
背が高い。硬い木の靴。片足には包帯。指先は真っ赤。
Yeah, what's up with their fingers?
衛兵の見解では昨夜塀に登り堀に身を投げた。いわゆる投身自殺だろうと。
Maybe it was a guy jealous of his friend because of that girl, and that guy killed the girl. That's my guess.
どうやって不要費が外壁に登ったのか疑問で、城壁を丹念に調べて回りました。
Some bricks poking out a little bit there.
転足とは足が小さいほど美しいとされる風習だ。
That's right. I think I've heard of that before. Where they find the feet like that.
自殺か他殺か。
I never considered that these could be two separate situations. It just seems coincidental that someone else would die right after.
何を考えている？
死ぬならどんな毒にしようかと。
死ぬ気か？
Wouldn't that be an interesting ending for this series if Maomao had to take poison, but she got to pick her own poison? It's interesting to see a lot of these cases pop up where people are allergic to things. I'm sure someone who's a doctor might see a whole lot of that in their line of work.
もし私を処刑する場合、 毒殺にしていただけませんか？
なんでそうなる？
It is an odd request, but it makes sense.
そんなことはしない。
するしないではなく、できるできないですから。面倒なことを言ったみたいだな。
It is interesting though to see his reaction to that. Just initially, it's just like, no, I wouldn't do that. And you can hear there could be some other reasons behind that other than a logistical issue.
ザクロ級フォンミ祝妃アード王妃の次女頭です。
We haven't met them, right? Because we were possibly looking for a traitor, right? Because that situation was from like a bunch of episodes ago when it had to do with the fire burning a certain way, right? Because like it's such a small detail for that, but it's actually kind of hard for me to remember the ins and outs of that because it just seems like a very small detail. But maybe there's an arc that's kind of traveling through all these episodes that we're keeping track of, but it's also not necessarily something that's in the forefront of these episodes either, so it's a little difficult for me to remember those little details. So okay, regarding the guy that got poisoned, Maomao was basically saying, oh, I pretty much pointed out who it was or whatever, but I don't think we pointed out specifically who it was, and we are just kind of leaving it at that. That's kind of strange. And then we switch gears over to the servant, which I guess we're kind of left with inconclusive, and it basically had no tie with the previous murder. Okay, we'll go ahead and check out the next episode here.
アード王妃って祝妃の？
うん。四夫人から外されて若い妃を腰入れさせるっていう噂だったし。
Interesting. So we have stories kind of traveling over to this episode now.
お茶会っていいな。
どうかな。まさに高級の縮図がそこに広がっている。
Yeah, it's interesting that Maomao is now very close to all this in proximity, but is still very not attached to it still.
園遊会の毒味役か。別に噛みついたりしないのにな。
It's interesting that even though Maomao is like finally finding these things out and finding culprits to certain things, she doesn't necessarily want them to be punished.
玉葉妃とリーシュ妃の茶会はどうだった？
急にリーシュ様を呼んでお茶会なんて変だと思ったら。
Of course, he's always behind everything.
下女は本当に自殺したと思うか？
それを決めるのは私ではありません。
I'm glad we're not just letting that go.
では明日からザクロ級に手伝いに行ってもらえないか？
もらえないかと質問されたところで選択肢などないというのに。
Right, he's asking nicely, but it's not like she can refuse.
人士様には何をしろとも言われていない。とりあえず働くか。
He probably expects her to notice whatever he wants her to notice.
華やかさや豊満さはないが、中性的な凛々しさがあって美しい。妃の着る大袖とスカートより。
Oh, that was her on top of the wall. I was gonna make a comment earlier saying that any beautiful person with long hair just looks like Jinshi to me.
おお、憧れの眼差し。
Because from a certain angle, she would pass as Jinshi, I think.
まずは書物の虫干しをお願いできるかしら。
What's up with those bandages, lady?
よければ使ってちょうだい。今夜は冷えるから。
ありがとうございます。
ゆっくり休んでね。
That lady's character design is interesting. She comes across as very nice, but there's just something about her that's like a little off.
新たな妃が腰入れしようという今、上級妃の立場が最も危ういのはアード王妃だ。だが先に他の席が空けば。
That's a pretty good motive. Wipe out someone else.
アード王妃のために毒殺を目論んだとして、リーシュ様を狙うのはおかしな話ではない。
And going for an allergy would be a really smart way to do it. No one would suspect otherwise.
では質問を変えよう。もし特別な方法で外部と連絡を取れるとすれば、誰だと思う？
嫌な聞き方をする。
He already knows.
まあ、旧大点だな。
これ見よがしに蜂蜜を食べておいて。
Yeah, he totally knew.
いい子にはご褒美をあげないとね。
遠慮します。
遠慮することはない。
Oh no.
結構です。他の方に差し上げてください。ガオシュン様。
He's just pretending it's not happening.
だが食べられるんだろう？
くそ、話が通じない。
No.
甘いものは嫌いじゃないかしら。お口に合うといいけど。
I'm too stupid to figure this out.
蜂蜜
薬よ。
うちの次女に何をしているの？
Oh, the way he ran.
赤子の頃のことだから一時は命も危うかったと聞いたわ。以来乳母たちにも食べるなと言われていて。
So is she allergic to it and more than just not liking it?
孤立した妃は次女たちに頼らざるを得ない。いじめられていることにすら気づかず。悪循環。
So she's the nice one, at least.
ザクロ宮の次女頭フォンミン様と面識はありますか？
Oh, what's with that face? What is going on here?
高級に数多く生えている薬草は私が昔からよく使っていたものばかりだ。誰か
I am trying so hard to follow, but it's... I don't know if I'm just dumb or they're just feeding me tiny little bits of information.
片足の膝の骨を抜かれた元宦官。何やってんだよ親父。
I didn't realize that was her dad. I didn't recognize it was her dad by name. Once I saw him, figured it out. I definitely am pretty lost. I understand like a couple of things. I feel like right now there are just pieces everywhere. And like the bigger pieces are like, okay, we're looking at the lady in waiting with the bandages because we think she's sending out messages to the outside via the fire with the multiple colors. I'm not even sure if we can call that 100% conclusive, or if she is the one doing it, what sort of messages she's sending out and to who. But then we have all these other smaller pieces about the other concubines and possible other allergies to honey. And then we have a possible motive of trying to keep Lady Aduo, like trying to keep her in as one of the concubines for the emperor so that she doesn't get phased out. And then girl that got murdered or suicide, we're thinking it's murder now, is the one being blamed for poisoning one of the other concubines with that motive of trying to make sure that Lady Aduo is still in line. I think I got all that right. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm missing a thing or two. So this is definitely like one of the more interesting mysteries that we've come across so far. It's spanning over multiple episodes. There's a lot of details to remember. Even the smallest things from like 2 episodes ago, all of a sudden is now super relevant. And I'm having to sit here and rack my brain about like, okay, who was it? Why did they do it? What did they eat? What did they sniff? What kind of plant was it? What shoes were they wearing? All these little things. And it's just really fascinating how the show likes to lay these little bricks of evidence on top of each other, whether it's a small detail or a big one, and then interweaving things like something medicinally related or perhaps it's something politically related. And now we're taking both elements and we're combining the two. We were kind of doing that in a more simpler way with the earlier story arcs, where we were able to just kind of finish the mystery within a single episode. But now we've got these murder mysteries spanning across multiple episodes, and they're a lot more involved, a lot more detailed, a lot more layers going on. I did not expect this show to do that. I actually do find Lady Li Shu to be one of the more interesting concubines in that I think I'm just more interested in her figuring out her situation in her immediate group, like amongst her ladies in waiting, because most of them are bitches basically. But she's got one good lady in waiting, it seems like, just from her demeanor, because she wasn't she kind of like the initial one who was like feeding her something that she's allergic to, and now we've kind of turned her around and now she's all right? Like, have we converted her to the good side? I just hope that Lady Li Shu makes sure that she figures out who her real friends are, or at least just be surrounded by a good support system. I think we definitely have more to learn about Lady Aduo, and just to kind of see where she comes from, what sort of person she is, because we only really have surface level observations of her at this point. Because for all we know, she put her lady in waiting up to this. You know, maybe she is involved, more involved than we know. So another couple good episodes. I'm pretty intrigued by what the outcome of this particular situation is. But that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the reaction, and I'll see you next time.